Well, this continues to be a very hard challenge. Soft targets like 3 a.m. in Las Vegas when the bollards are down, in New Orleans when the bollards are down, or Las Vegas are hard to protect totally. I mean, New Orleans has to do a better job yesterday, but it is interesting that both attacks occurred right around the new year. And the local authorities have said there's no connection, but I would just offer the fact that there are copycats and there could be more. And I hope we don't have a failure of imagination here. It seems to me there would be motivation by ISIS because of how Syria has gone, and we have attacked them in Syria, we, the U.S., to hit more soft targets in the U.S. And let me just point out that they're not targeting Democrats or Republicans. They're targeting America. So we better pull together a little here, as we did after 9/11, and understand that our country, not just one party, is under attack. And that motivates me to say one more thing. These people were not illegals coming across the southern border. Let's get over this. I'm not saying there isn't a border issue, and a bill could have passed months ago if Trump hadn't blocked it. But I'm saying that there are other threats to America and to our infrastructure from many countries and many terror groups. And having a responsible group of people in chairs in there at the Pentagon and the DNI and all the other senior and the FBI law enforcement positions matters.
Well, indeed, the point's taken, Jane, and we haven't seen a correction on that Truth Social post. But I wonder your thoughts on what we heard from the outgoing director of the FBI, who has been framed as a sort of bad guy by the incoming administration. He's basically been fired or forced to resign. But it was Christopher Wray who repeatedly said in congressional testimony last year that the United States faced a significant threat from lone wolf terrorists inspired by the events in the Middle East specifically. And now we have this truck with the ISIS flag and basically what the FBI director was warning us was going to happen. Does he need to be acknowledged for being right?
He was right. And he's not the first person to say this. We've been talking about this since 9/11. Right after 9/11, I became ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee. And we talked, again, not on a partisan basis, about threats to America. He is right. I'm kind of sorry he's resigning. He has a 10-year position. And he's now creating a circumstance where possibly the Trump appointee or whoever is confirmed for the position may be forced out in less than 10 years. The whole point of a 10-year tenure was to put him beyond political whims, sort of like the Supreme Court, but they have life tenure. But the point is to make the FBI an independent agency. And I worry a lot that could change very quickly.
Well, you're alluding to, Jane, of course, Kash Patel, who has been nominated to lead the FBI next, needs to be confirmed, as does Tulsi Gabbard, who has been tapped to lead or be the director of national intelligence. There's Pete Hegseth, who's been tapped for defense secretary as well. Do these events make all of those confirmations easier to achieve in the U.S. Senate?
Unclear. I know that that's what the Trump administration is pushing. But if I were senator, which I'm not, and I wanted to exercise my responsibility to approve these nominees, I would want this to go at a reasonable pace, not too slow, but not too fast. Putting the wrong people in these positions, and the Senate has to determine if they're wrong, really violates the Senate responsibility to advise and consent. And I would point out that the Senate hasn't passed budgets on time since 2011, the year I left. Kind of interesting. And they haven't done this function, or they may not do this function well. And they have passed on all opportunities to authorize wars, and we've been in a few of them. And, you know, at some point, some voter's going to say, hey, buddy, what are you doing in your job? And I really think this is crunch time for the United States Senate. And there's some excellent senators in both parties who I hope will step up and do whatever they think is the right thing here.
How's Joe Biden doing, Jane, in these final weeks of his administration? He was before the American people yesterday. I suspect he might speak again today or tomorrow after being briefed in the Situation Room on what happened in New Orleans and Las Vegas. Should he try to correct some of the information that Donald Trump is putting out here? What is the role as these two essentially compete for attention in the next 3 weeks?
Well, Joe Biden has a diminished audience. I think he has been pitch perfect on the Jimmy Carter death and planning the funeral. I look forward to attending it myself, since I was Deputy Cabinet Secretary in the Carter White House and have some very fond memories of Carter. And one of the things that's heartening is that his 4 years in the White House has been reviewed and reconsidered. He didn't do everything right, but he was a moral conscience, and we surely need one now. And Biden gets that. Biden, I think, endorsed Carter, was the first senator to endorse Carter back in the day, and they were good friends. And he stepped up to that, and he does need to speak out here if he has an opinion. Certainly, he should. I think this claim that these people crossed the border to carry out these attacks, which is totally bogus, has to be corrected.